Right. My mom was born in Old Crow in 1932, and when she was quite young, they found out that she had TB, and they shipped her off to Edmonton, the Charles Council. And the nurses and doctors down there told everybody that, most likely they won't have children, but if they did, don't teach your children your language because it's a dying language and you don't want people laughing at the children you might have. And so my mom, when we were born, never spoke Gwitch'in to us, and hardly spoke it to other people when we were around, so we never learned Gwitch'in when we were growing up.
Understand that I have been born in an igloo and probably wasn't too far away from a seal hole. And our way of life, it had been that way because there was hardly no non-natives in those days, and we didn't even know how to speak English. When I was doing my trap line and trapping and stuff like that, when I'm cooking my dog pot and or waiting for the evening, that I take on comics because I didn't know how to read, I didn't know how to speak English, and then so I used to have Jughead and Archie comics and all that good stuff.
My name is Mary Tia, and I was born up here in Northwest Territories. I was born down in Husky River area, and I've been home. I was home till I was 9 years old, and most of the time I was living out on the land and living off the land. My parents brought us up out on the land and make sure we had wood and water all the time and this kind of thing. So I really feel that we were taught well by our parents, and even at 9 years old, I never went to school till I was 9 because I guess there was not enough room in the school, and me and my sister, we went to school together. She was 7 and I was 9, and I went to school for about 6 years. I went to grade 6, and that's all I could get, and then I came home and I was right back out on the land again. Out on the land, my mom and dad, they taught us. We were really fortunate to have our grandparents and our aunts and aunties around. So we got to know our background, our identity, which I feel is really important. I feel that when you know that, you know who you are and you respect who you are. And because you respect yourself, you're able to take on anything. You can learn and be trained. So in a way, eventually I got married and I continued to live on the land. And by following the caribou, migration of the caribou, and we made a lot of dry meat and things like that. And then later on in 1968, I was interested in working. I wanted to start working for money. So I applied for a job, and I was really, I was fortunate to get that job. I got a job with the Department of Health at the health center here, the first health center they had, which was built in 1948, I think it was. For 9 years there, just doing housework, and then I thought I didn't want to do that kind of work forever. So I decided maybe I can learn to do something else. So I asked the nurse in charge, and she looked into it with Inuvik, and they said that they had money in a budget for a community health rep position. So they asked me if I was interested in that. I said yes, and they said, but you have to go for training. So I said I would, and so they sent me they said that I had to go training in Fort Smith, and that's where I went, I got my training there as a community health rep. And then I came back and I started working. I had my own office, and I started working as a liaison between the people of the community and the health department, the health staff. And I really liked that job. And it was hard. It was hard to leave home and, go back to schooling and that. But because I wanted it, I really worked hard to get it. I got it. Good, because when I went for the training, I used a lot of the what you call the instructions or the teaching. The instructor instructed us on certain things in health, and I really learned, like body parts by working with caribou. So that came back to me when I was learning about that in the health area. So so I think, when you have your culture and your traditional way of life, it, you can also use it in your training, your schooling, So I really feel that when, like our children go to school here, I'm happy when I see them go out on the land, when they're taken out on the land to learn about more things about their way of life, because in time it's going to come back to them in their education. But and education is so important, so very important for our children today, because there's so much change has taken place, and it's going to continue, and our children are going to have their education if they're going to make it in the future.
Following that, we're going to be having the drag race snow machines over here across the river, and then we're going to have the open class. They're just finishing up some of the snowshoe races across the river. Looks like I see Ben over there. There, we're done with some of the snowshoe races, I think. Okay, kids, off of here, you guys. Off of here, look at that. Somebody just fell in the hole here. Off of here. You guys, hey, get down. Get off of there. No, get down, you're going to fall in and get hurt. Okay, come on, everybody. Yeah, cheer them on here. Come on, girls. Yeah.
Yes, my name is John Dixon, and I live at 777 River Road, straight on the river. My little tent town. Well, it's going to be tent town, I hope. I'm going to fix this thing that's happening with the town and the homeless, and they can't decide where to put these guys. So, tell you the truth, most of them live with me already. If they don't get picked up and thrown in the tank, say, hey, stumble down there and stay with me. That's what it's for. There used to only be one tent there, now there's 3. I bought a big one. Untitled tent. But it's nice. It's nice and big. It's got 2 bedrooms in it. And of course, you know, I got one of the bedrooms. Say, hands off, boys, you don't go in that one. It's mine. And they all know. Hey, you can't smoke in here. You put in an application for Indian status. So if you can trace your history back 8 generations to a true blue native Canadian, you can get status. So I see all around here, all my relatives, cousins, they're all status Indians. So what? What's going on here? You know, white father, Métis mother, and you're an Indian? What's going on here? Oh, well, maybe I could do it too. So I filled it out. I did a little bit of research. I filled out that application. Said my grandmother, my Juju, was born in Fort McPherson in 1901.
Granny Lila?
Her brother used to be chief of Old Crow. Her father was Enoch Moses from Fort Yukon, Alaska. That's what, 3 generations to me? Am I an Indian? No. I'm only this much. But I'm proud of this much. So I applied. I want to be an Indian. Because then I can change things.
they said we were cannibal, ancestors was cannibal. And so that is why how the word derived from cannibalism. They said our ancestors was practicing cannibalism, which was never true. But the word Kalinago is the name of the nation. That's how our ancestors knew themselves. Kalinago people, the strong people, strong warrior. They did not know themselves as Caribs. When the Europeans came and they started colonizing the people, and they wrote in their history book that our ancestors are cannibal. And that's how the word Carib and Caribbean became, on the street right now. But our ancestors know themselves as Kalinago people. A lot of people in the territory, they don't like you to call them Caribs, because the word Carib did not do good. It did not bring a good image. So when you would walk in the territory, even when you go to Roseau, the capital, and maybe a black person, and somebody would call a Carib, Quaib, that sort of term, they would get angry. Because the word Carib did not do well, because it brought up that self-image, and in the Dominican society, because they did not, some people do not know the history of the Carib people, so especially in the 70s, in the 80s, there was a lot of discrimination among the blacks against the Carib people. And the word Carib, they would always, once ever they would see a Carib, they would say Quaib, Carib, and they would say you're stupid, you have no values. And so any time you hear somebody called Carib, they will get angry. But right now there's a new wave of consciousness, a new wave of identity, a self-identity. They prefer you to call them Kalinago, because they feel more proud, because this is the original name. We too, and the cultural leaders, we are trying all our best to to try to see how we can educate our young people, and to tell them, our history is important, our culture is important. And I myself too, I want to see that our young generation, our young children, they learn the native language, our Kalinago language. And because I always believe language is power. Language, if you doesn't have a language, if a nation doesn't have, a tribe doesn't have a language, then you just like a tree, without root. You're just like a tree without no branches. But I always believe that we as the Kalinago people and our young children should be able to speak, at least not fluent of the language, but speak a little bit, So because that brings a sense of pride and dignity, you know, among our people.
Our ancestors were very brave people. People who were traveling, who like to travel a lot. People who like to hunt. They were, I want not to call them civil, but in a way they were civilized in their own sense. Because everybody is civilized in their own way. Because you can get me very angry if you just come to my home and take what you want to take what you want from me, without asking me, without making permission. And this is what happens to the Carib people. That the Europeans, the French, they came to invade your country, and they want to tell them what they wanted and how to run the affairs of it. So therefore, that is why we call it warlike. And we can prove it. You see? Another stage they said that we were cannibals. They came and meet us with certain relics of our family. Because some of us were brave warriors. And at that time there were no pictures of your family, that they could have a picture on your wall. So what they would take part of your body or your relics, your bone, and say, well, this is my ancestor, this is the spirit of my ancestor. I adore him, I know. You look at that person, that relic, that piece of monument that you have there, as part of you, as a supreme person. Because you know that because we fought bravely, and we also believe that our ancestors will live with us all the time. All we have to do is to bring him back to us, because we believe in natural thing. We believe in natural environment, and we live with it. And that is why I'm saying that though we need a lot of development in here, in our community, but we must not tamper with the environment. You understand? We must live with it, because our people were part of the environment. They live with the environment. So there was nothing to disturb the environment at that time.
My mother died when I was 4 years old, and my sister was 2 years old. Then we brought up with our grandmother. At that time, money was not common. It was very poor, because she herself had 7 children. So therefore, we were unable to get education. Anyhow, I cultivated my land. I look after my animals. And then I continue all the time. I do fishing too, but not much. Fishing and so on. I'm mostly in the field and so on. Look after my animals and doing all these things and so on. And then, well, the most problem we had was we had no roads at that time. We had no roads. And we had bananas at that time. We had to carry bananas long distances. We had to carry banana from that place of the Sineku, the people of Sineku, was to carry bananas from Sineku right up to Concord on their head, wholesale. Or if not, the women would go in the bush. When you see Christmas is coming, Christmas time, let's say by November, sometimes 4 or 5 women would go in the bush and look for that rope. They call it mibi. They would pull it and bring them with big bundles on their head, put in their home. Sometimes they take 2 days in scraping them. And when they finish scrape them, they put them to dry. Then they go back and they get that lauma again, which we're using now. And then they would make baskets. And when, let's say, before Christmas, when December comes, they have all this load. And then we used to carry these baskets from the reserve. The women would tie their hand baskets on their head, you know, big bundles on their head. The men would have those baskets on their back and would travel from here to Roseau. I have done it. We take 3 days to go to Roseau. I did it several times with my parents. We leave here, let's say, 3 o'clock in the morning. We got up, we boil our food, we wrap it up in leaf, and we put it in our basket and our load, and then we would hit up to Concord. Go through the bush, and then go through all through Bells, all these places there. Then reach Tarish Pit, and then walk all that road, you know, all Springfield, down to Kenfield. Sometime when it's Kenfield, we see the sun going down in the sea in the afternoon, tired as anything. Whole day. Then we go and reach Roseau. We do our house in Roseau. When we reach, we are tired, we go and we sleep under the post office. The fire brigade, we go and we sleep there. Next day we get up, sell our baskets, and we make our messages. So that's 2 days. We sleep there again. Next day again, early in the morning, let's say about the same time again, we get up again. Before we load again, whatever we buy, you know. What do you think we go to Roseau to buy? Salt, kerosene, tobacco. That, you know, because we haven't got that here. We go, we buy salt, we buy tobacco, we buy kerosene, and other thing otherwise, you know. And then we come back. Following morning, we leave again. Walk from Roseau again, that same road again, right back here, and reach here in the afternoon. And when you say you reach here in the afternoon, those that went to Roseau, you find a lot of people coming and saying, "Oh, we face out to Roseau." And when you see these people reach, I can remember, you have to give them a little salt. Somebody come with a little jug, give them some kerosene. The men are smoking. You reach out them a leaf of tobacco. But now you will not find that again. At that time, the Caribs were uniting together. So I tell you, there's no unity among the Caribs now.